Hello everybody, my name is Dave and I am an alcoholic. I tried to do this yesterday. I tried to do it live streaming through my webcam and it did not work out well. When I said my name is Dave, I'm an alcoholic, it kept going on repeat. It was like Inception, man. It was crazy. It was, hi, I'm Dave, I'm an alcoholic. It was like row, row, row your boat gently down, row, row, row your boat. Up until the point where all you heard was traffic. It was like, ah! It went on so much, which sucks because I spent about 30 minutes doing this, and so I'm going to kind of do it over just so I have a record, but I'm not going to name it 12 days sober because now I'm on day 13, which isn't the longest commitment, and that's why I am here doing this. Let me explain why I am uploading and doing this to the places I am. I cannot physically make it to an AA meeting at the moment, and mainly because it's about 7 miles away. I'm 300 pounds out of shape. I've been walking slowly and trying to develop muscle tone in my legs and such, so I will be able to do it. But my legs hurt for 2 days if I do 5 miles, to the point where like it really hurts. So I don't want to make any false expectations for myself and false commitments where I revert back into drinking. So I'm not making unrealistic expectations for myself. Realistically, I could probably do that day in, day out and kill myself and just feel overwhelmed. That for me is my first part of recovery, is not to push myself to the point where I feel overwhelmed and I need a drink because I put too much on my plate. So I basically did a book study, and I'm going to continue doing the book study. I've attended AA multiple times throughout my life. I've been drinking roughly since I was about 13 years old. That's when I picked up my first drink and I got toe up from the flow up. And I continuously went down a spiraling path for a while. The first AA meeting I went to was when I was about 15 years old. It was with my father. It was at a convention in San Diego. It was at a hotel. We stayed there for 2 days and it was fun, man. It was great. There was music, dancing, a bunch of AA meetings. I got the whole vibe of what AA was about then. I've had to participate in different rehabilitation programs throughout my young adult life as well as my adolescence. And in the past, I want to say 14 years, I have 13, because when I first started dating my wife, I was in rehab. But recently, I was in rehab for drugs, even though I don't use drugs as in that sense. I like to drink an abundant amount of alcohol. But in the past 13 years, I've only been to one meeting. And I've not drinking for some time. But then I've been totally fucked up for a good amount of time as well. And I realized that when I was younger, heck, even in the past year or so, I've said it a couple of times, going to 12-step programs and certain rehabilitation meetings makes me feel like I want to drink. But the reality is, I have been drinking anyways. So in my mind, how is this going to hurt and how is it going to affect me? It's going to make me want to drink. Well, hell, I want to drink on a day-to-day basis anyways. So I think it's a cop-out and an excuse, and from what I've been reading, the only way to actually rid myself of this issue, this disease, is to help other alcoholics as well as work the program. So in attempt to help people, here I am talking to you guys, and I'm going to continue to do this, and hopefully once I actually make the physical meetings, because I would really love to do that 90-day meetings, or 90 meetings in 90 days. I know some people are opposed to it. I'm not saying that, you must do it if you want to stay sober. It's not a necessity. But people say, oh, it's kind of like a brainwashing thing. Well, I do kind of want my brain to be washed a bit. I want to be able to recite what's in this book and know it like the back of my hand. And to be able to do that, 90 meetings in 90 days sounds like you would be able to obtain that knowledge and be able to recite it. So 14 days is a habit, and you do it 90 days. You constantly have it being drilled into your head. You're reading the book. You will have a lot of those coping skills, and then I plan on continuing to go to meetings, mainly because I have looked at different programs, not just the 12-step programs. I've looked into different outpatient treatment, inpatient treatment. I haven't been called back by some of the people I outreach to, which in my mind blows my mind, because if somebody is like me looking to stop drinking and they're actually reaching out for help, wouldn't you want to actually help them? I mean, at least guide them if they can't necessarily afford your program, but help them get on the right path to sobriety if they're actually there for people. It was DACO. I don't mean to drop names or anything, but out here in the Tampa area, Hillsborough County, it's DACCO. DACO is one of the big ones that I hear a lot of people that actually have been charged criminally have to go to, but apparently they don't care about the non-criminal addict, alcoholic that is trying to get help for themselves, which, like I said, in my mind, it blows it, because why would you want to wait until this person is criminally charged? I mean, to be able to help them. I want to not be criminally charged, and I also don't want to drink and destroy what little family I do have left, which is my wife and my 9-year-old son. So I'm going to keep working these steps, and what I have been doing is I've been doing I want to start doing a book study. I've never really personally led a book study before, and I guess I'm really not leading one right now because, I mean, who's really watching this? I mean, there's not many of you. Maybe eventually there'll be people watching this, but there's nobody really watching it right now. I'm not planning on editing this video, mainly because editing takes too much time, and maybe eventually one day when I am in a better state of mind and better frame, and we want to talk about mental health and recovery, I will edit it and I will think about my background and my surroundings and such. But as of right now, I just want to upload this video and help myself not to drink. It's been 13 days, like I said. My last drink was on July 1st of this year, which is 2018. Nothing extremely embarrassing or regrettably diminishing happened on June 31st or June 30th for me to want to give up drinking. Nothing of the sort really did take place. I woke up in my hangover type of state, and I just started thinking about my mother. I started thinking about my father. I started thinking about my grandparents, and I started thinking about my son and my wife, and looking at the direction of which my life has been going down for quite some time, and it's becoming unmanageable. My wife is constantly arguing with me, actually degrading me because of it. I mean, she's not the best support system, but I mean, she's kind of at wit's end, and she doesn't really know what to do or how to handle it. So I can't really take that aggravation or frustration necessarily out on her, although she is part of one of my resentment deals. I am working on the 4th step, mainly because every time I have tried this program in the past, and I've tried it a good few times, when I was about 18, 19-ish, it's the last time I really tried to work the steps. It took a lot out of me for the 4th step, the resentment list dealio thing, but I've been working on it now, and it is still a fucking struggle. Do not get me wrong, it's still a struggle. I put like 37 people, places, or things that I resent, and I could still think of 100 more, but I'm like, instead of just listing these, I need to start filling in the slots. What happened for me to resent these people, what's, you know, the other one, and then what I did in return after the resentment. What did I do? So I started filling that in for the 37 people. I'm only on, I think, 5 right now. And I realized doing this, man, I do not like a lot of things, people or places. A lot of things just upset me and kind of trigger me, and I believe those triggers, and this is why you do it, to help understand those triggers so you don't go pick up a drink. But a lot of things have kind of set me off through over the years, and I will get into that if you continue to watch and if you continue to follow. Hopefully my stories can help you, and hopefully doing some of this book study and stuff can help you as well. So anyways, let's just jump right into the first foreword on the first edition of the big book, the Big Blue Alcoholic Anonymous's book. I actually just got this in the mail about 2 days ago. I got it used. It said it was in great condition, but the damage to the cover, damage to the pages. I mean, generally, I guess it's not falling apart, so it is in good condition. But I got it for $6, so I'm not really complaining too much. I mean, it is $6, so it's 18 new, and I've seen a lot of people get a new book and then they get gypped, and that new book is kind of destroyed. But what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to, and it may change, the way I do this may change in the future, but I'm going to read the chapter. Unfortunately, I'm on this camera, which I can't pull up the actual book itself, excuse me, like how I did on the broadcasting, but I'm also a lot clearer. I'm not blurry, and I know my shit's not going to be echoing like a motherfucker. So there's better image quality, better sound, and all you can't do is get this. But if you want to get this, I'm sorry, I don't know Roman numerals. We're on the foreword to the first edition. Pages XIII is right after the preface, which I did a little thing on the preface, and so here we go. This is the foreword as it appeared in the first printing of the first edition in 1939. We of Alcoholics Anonymous are more than 100 men and women who have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. To show other alcoholics precisely how we have recovered is the main purpose of this book. For them, we hope these pages will prove so convincing that no further authentication will be necessary. We think this account of our experiences will help everyone to better understand the alcoholic. Many do not comprehend that the alcoholic is a very sick person, and besides, we are sure that our way of living has its advantages for all. It is important that we remain anonymous because we are too few at present to handle the overwhelming number of personal appeals which may result from this publication. Being mostly business or professional folk, we could not well carry on our occupations in such an event. We would like it understood that our alcoholic work is avocation. When writing or speaking publicly about alcoholism, we urge each of our fellowship to omit his personal name, designating himself instead as a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. Very earnestly, we ask the press also to observe this request, for otherwise we shall be greatly handicapped. We are not an organization in the conventional sense of the word. There are no fees or dues whatsoever. The only requirement for membership is an honest desire to stop drinking. We are not allied with any particular faith, sect, or denomination. Nor do we oppose anyone. We simply wish to be helpful to those who are afflicted. We shall be interested to hear from those who are getting results from this book, particularly from those who have commenced work with other alcoholics. We should like to be helpful to such cases. Inquiry by scientific, medical, and religious societies will be welcomed. Signed, Alcoholics Anonymous. So, before I divulge and get into my notes, I want to explain a few things about this book study. I've done a book study with a few of my college professors years ago, and they always started at the very beginning. So they started with the preface, the introductions, forewords, etc., etc., etc. So I'm taking that same format in here. I know most of you, including myself, don't necessarily like to read this mumbo jumbo. We want to get right on the book, but generally there's little tidbits of information both in the preface and the forewords and introductions that generally help you understand the book and its entirety. I've noticed that, so I've definitely jotted a few notes down. And in the future, I probably am not going to be reading the whole chapter. And we probably won't be doing a whole chapter in a video unless, of course, I don't know, people want an hour and a half, 2-hour video, which generally it's 5 to 10 minute videos are good. And that's what people want to watch. So even this video is going to be running on and on and on. And I guarantee you most people aren't going to be watching it. So we just read the first foreword. There's 3 forewords, I believe, if not 4. There's 1, 2, 3. There's 4 forewords in this book because there's 4 editions. So in the first paragraph, there's a part that says, "It states that we have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body." I brought this up because when this was written and published in 1939. It says that AA was actually established and formed in 1935. And I do want to deliver this point because I believe in the book somewhere, I haven't gotten this far. If I have, I kind of don't remember it. I didn't retain the information. It states that we are hopeless over alcohol. We are powerless. And so it says that they have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. And I swear up and down in this book that it says that we're never recovered. We're constantly in recovery. We always have a due diligence to work the steps. So were they recovered in the short 4 years, or were they continuing to work the steps? I'm quite unsure exactly the context of that statement. If you understand the context of that statement a little bit better, please drop it in the comments below. But yeah, I just even so, if they have, and you can sit there and say you are recovered, that's only in 4 years. 4 years necessarily of sobriety, and you pretty much can say you recovered. That to me would be a miracle. I mean, like I said, I'm 13 days in, and it's been a struggle not to drink. I mean, the first 4 days were extremely hard. Day 6, my wife came home saying, we just filed for bankruptcy, saying we shut down her business, her employer's line of credit, which is a huge corporation. Everywhere in the world, actually, it's a corporation in the world, and we shut down their credit line. Fortunately enough, though, they're human. We fixed it, no issues. But when she first told me that, hell, I threw 3 of my beers in the freezer. And the next day, I listened to a message my grandmother left the day prior to find out my uncle died. But he didn't just die. He died June 11th. And, excuse me, it was the 7th, or the 6th of July, she told me. I found out on the 7th of July. So it upset me, and I was hurting because of his death. And it upset me, and I was hurting because I missed the services and to pay my due respect to my uncle, and going to see him for a last time because of whatever reasoning she had not telling me, or whatever reasoning my family had to not tell me that my uncle passed away, I think is crazy. And then the day after that, my wife's ex-fiance, the guy that she was dating, saying in love with, planning to marry before we met, he decided to friend request her on Facebook. I mean, they haven't spoken in 14 years at least, because we've been dating for 14 years. But the day or 2 days after we shut down our credit line, the day after I find out my uncle died, and then that I was on the verge to really wanting to get toe up from the flow up. I really wanted to drink because there was a lot of heavy stuff being put on my plate, and she wasn't being too great. She was yelling at me about the shit I wanted to watch, even though my uncle just died. I mean, really no empathy nor sympathy, but she has not really shown any of that in the past, and I didn't expect her to. I didn't even expect to tell her that my uncle did die. It just kind of came out with her ex-fiance friend requesting her. I was going to keep it to myself because I knew there would be no consolement. I mean, the only consolement I'd get is a pat on my back I give myself. It's okay, Dave. You will be fine. So, continuing. The main purpose of this book is to show other alcoholics precisely how they recovered. I mean, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. I think it says how we recovered. The main purpose of this book is to show other alcoholics precisely how we recovered. And the main point is necessarily working the steps and everything else, but is to also help other alcoholics, talk to them, and try to give them advice on how to keep them sober. That's the seemingly common denominator of what has kept other people sober. And I'm continuing to work the steps, working through 4, and I want to start doing a reaching out type of deal to help keep myself sober. Like I said, it's 13 days, but I've been drinking since I was 13 with no avail, and I have not been able to stop. I mean, I stopped for 1 year, but I came back on the wagon, and I came back even harder than I have been on it before. So, well, apparently I'm only allocated like 20 minutes on this memory thing. That kind of sucks, but whatever, it just shut off. It also says on paragraph 1, "For them, we hope these pages will prove so convincing that no further authentication is needed." You know, in my mind, do 12-step programs always work? Of course they don't. Of course there's not a 100% success rate. There can't be. I mean, there will never be, because some people are not honest with themselves, and some people don't find that fellowship and don't continuously try to have that fellowship and get the help that they need and the support. They think they could do it on their own. Hell, I've been that person for a while too, and I'm still kind of weary and untrusting of groups. I mean, last time I went, I was sitting there emotional, I was crying, and I had some dude that wanted to be my sponsor right away, gave me his phone number and said call, you know, but I'm sitting here at a vulnerable position in my life, and then to give my complete trust to an utter stranger where anyone could show up to these groups just kind of felt uneasy to me. I didn't feel easy. I didn't get to know this person, and I did not like that, and I was vulnerable, and I potentially am correct to how I was feeling. I mean, he may have been trying to take advantage of me because I was a vulnerable alcoholic, and he never was an alcoholic, or he is, and he just likes to take advantage of folks in that state of mind, or he could actually have been helpful and wanting and willing to help. It's hard to say, but I just didn't trust the situation, and I didn't trust my mindset to be open and honest with this person I just met. So my plan and my goal right now is to establish camaraderie, friendships. I will share, but I'm not going to be looking for a sponsor right away, just because I would like to actually get to know the person before I declare them my sponsor, to see if their personality meshes with my personality, or we're going to clash. I mean, I don't want somebody that I am going to look at my wife and be like, God, man, I really can't stand this person. I don't want that, and I don't want them to feel that way about me either. So I want to take my time in establishing the contacts that I do make and the people that I look for help and guidance as well. So what other programs are out there? There's a bunch of other programs other than 12 steps, but what I've noticed, the common denominator, well, there's a few common denominators that I've noticed. For one, those other programs, they all cost money. AA does not cost money. It will never ask you for fees or dues. And all these other places, you have to continue going to therapy, and then they also suggest with the continuation of therapy that you start attending a 12-step program like AA. So basically, this AA is a group therapy run and designated, and everything was said by the alcoholics. No one's being paid for it. You don't have a professional sitting there. I mean, you'll probably have a good few professionals around you, but you don't have one professional sitting there saying, I mean, you have that chairperson for the meeting, but I mean, generally they'll switch up. But it's generally, I think, the same thing. The only difference is the steps that they tell you to work in AA may be a little bit different than certain advices they give you in other type of programs. I just don't see many vices or many things changing too much, like doing the self-inventory, really. I mean, who, what, when, where, why triggers you to feel the way you do what happened during that time, and how did you react to that situation? And then when you're doing that, you start thinking of what could I have done differently, or maybe I could have just let it go and have it really not have affected the way I live my life. I mean, generally they're just coping skills, teaching you how to cope with life, and teaching you a healthy way to evaluate certain situations. That's what the 12 steps are for. A lot of people seek other treatment because of the word God, the spirituality aspect, and I don't blame them. That has thrown me off a lot too, and I still am not claiming God as a deity, as somebody that created me in the image of Him. I have not, and I will not be doing that serenity prayer until I figure out what I can discern and say my God is, and as I know it, and I know Him, or know what I am, my higher power per se. I'm not even going to say a God, a deity, but what my higher power would be, what I can look into that's greater than myself and say this is greater than me, because apparently we have to find something that is greater than ourselves and meditate towards that. Think about that in meditation. So I have a lot of ideas of what I would like to use, but it's hard for me to sit there and say God. So a lot of these other recovery programs don't focus on the God aspect, but they focus on almost the same tools. I'm assuming, I haven't been, but focusing on the same tools that AA utilizes other than God. And apparently it's not like a cult-like following, but the reason why they keep repeating this stuff and you keep going is so it sticks in your mind, and then you have something to fall back on instead of grabbing that beer from the cooler or pouring yourself a gin and tonic. It's just so you have those coping skills embedded deep within your head. They're not saying drink the Kool-Aid, they're saying drink the coffee, so... The accounts of the alcoholic experience is believed to make you better understand the alcoholic. Now, I'm not sure if that part is in paragraph 1 still too. I'm not sure if that part is more directed for the alcoholic to better understand himself as an alcoholic or herself as an alcoholic, or if it's meant for, the lay person to pick it up and better understand the alcoholic. But personally, I think it's mainly for the alcoholic to better understand that that person is not alone. A lot of the stories that I've read, that I've seen and heard, are not exactly what I have done in certain situations, but I have done similar actions to most of the stories I've read / were told, and I have felt similar fashions. I may have not drank 3-gallon things of rum a day. I may have only drank 2 18-packs 3 times a week. There's a difference in the alcohol consumption, but there's not a difference in the feelings and how I behave in certain situations. Many don't understand that the alcoholic is a very sick person. I still wonder if it's viewed as a sickness. I know personally, me and a few other folks have viewed it as a personal weakness. I feel more weak than sick, but I guess sickness does make you feel weak. So I guess I could still refer to it as a sickness, but I don't want to classify myself as a sick person, but I guess I kind of have to develop myself in this program. I have to go use the restroom, so I hope I'm almost done. This way of living has advantages for all, not just alcoholics. I believe that's true. I believe a lot of successful people, a lot of people that are okay with the way they live, and a lot of religions and spiritual people throughout the times have practiced these steps, the meditation, becoming one with nature, etc., 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 whether it was religion or becoming one with nature and the universe. The meditation, the self-inventory checklist, figuring out how to be okay with what's going on. Sorry, another dog's barking. Hey, shush, please. Another dog's barking in the backyard. No, I'm recording. Please stop. Just chill. No. I don't remember exactly what point I was getting at, but just knowing that you're one with nature, it's been done through the ages. So I think this way of life could actually benefit a lot more than just the alcoholic. And perhaps this is why a lot more people aren't alcoholics, because they choose to live this life, do their yoga, do the meditation, etc., 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 over drinking. So I think it's very important. Paragraph 2. It's important that we remain anonymous. And it also continues to say alcoholic work is a vocation. It's encouraged to omit your name when speaking or writing publicly. Or not a vocation, avocation. I keep saying that because it's how I did it. I spaced the A with the V in my notes. Avocation, not vocation. Avocation is advocating for something you don't get paid for. But I wonder if it's still as true today as it was in 1939, knowing our civil liberties, and since we are alcoholics, we cannot get fired for being an alcoholic or saying that we have an alcohol or we're an alcoholic. We actually have more protections being an alcoholic than per se a person that is not an alcoholic and decided to act a certain way. I've known a couple of people in my lifetime that have worked with my wife. They have HR departments, and I've heard multiple stories. People are about to get fired, but then they're like, ooh, I have an alcohol problem. Ooh, I have a drug problem. And no longer are they going to get fired, but then the company assists them in getting rehab and getting help, and then they come back to work, whether they make it after the rehab or not. But I don't think it's necessarily like you can't say that you're not an alcoholic anymore, and it's going to affect your job. Matter of fact, I was at the court's office because of the bankruptcy, and we're talking to a pro bono lawyer, and in their little office they had a bar journal, journal for lawyers. It's called the bar journal because they had to pass the bar to become a lawyer. And it was describing alcohol in lawyers and how often lawyers drink, and how 31% of lawyers have a problem with alcohol and drinking. And in all honesty, I can see it, man. I really can. They have their own little helpline, but their job's tough. Their job's boring as shit. You gotta sit there and look at freaking paperwork and make sure it's right, because it's going to be somebody's life for hours upon end. I mean, yeah, no, I would definitely think that people would be drinking with a job like that, but they know that alcohol affects millions of people in all professions, and I don't think it's as big of an issue claiming that you're an alcoholic as it was back then, when you would be committed to an insane asylum for being an alcoholic, back in the days where they went into your eye with the ice pick and performed lobotomies. I mean, those were those days where they're performing lobotomies, and so if you're like, I'm an alcoholic, they commit you, eventually you're going to get part of your brain removed. So I could see how it was worrisome back in 1939. I understand the processes of anonymity, and I think it's really more about the stigma attached. People will be looking at you differently if you're like, I'm an alcoholic, and they truly do. I mean, people really generally do look at you differently when you're like, I have a problem drinking. And so I think it's really about the stigma attached, not the fact that we will be losing our profession. We'll more likely lose our profession for saying something wrong about another person, like calling them fat, or somebody takes a microaggression the wrong way. We'll be fired more for something so silly as that, something that you would have never been fired for 15 years ago, but you will not be fired for having an alcohol problem. There's no fees, no dues. The only requirement is the desire to stop drinking. Well, yeah, that basically sums it up. I have to go use the restroom, and so I'm not going to kind of go over that. I'll maybe talk a little bit more right here, but I'm actually going on about 45 minutes, so I'm sure you guys, if you are continuing to watch this, do not want to watch anymore. You're like, oh my god, will this dude ever shut the fuck up? Bleep. But anyways, I do want to thank you for watching. My name is Dave. I'm an alcoholic. The reason why I'm doing these videos is so I can help other alcoholics, as well as not drinking for today. It's been 13 days since I picked up a drink. I have been not using AA for years, and I have not been sober, so I figured I might as well give it a try. What's there to lose besides not drinking today? So I continue to remain on the sober path, and I am going to continue to upload these videos, probably up until the time where I wake up with a hangover. Anyways, it was wonderful. It was pleasurable, and I will see you guys soon. If you want, you could hook up to a Facebook group and a Facebook page I just added. For this, the links will be in the description below. I don't want to add it to any of the new Alcoholics Anonymous deal. I mean, if my pages do grow exponentially and 100,000 people watch this video, great, but it's not going to happen overnight. And by the time people are watching this video, I will have built up confidence in the fact of who I am, confidence in the fact that I am working the program, and confidence in the fact that I haven't picked up a drink. So, like I said, links are in the description below if you want to join my Facebook groups and if you want to interact this way. If you feel like you cannot make it to a meeting yourself, perhaps this will be a good outlet for you too, and you could upload videos as well to it. And we could have discussions about it, and hopefully build a community, build our own little meeting. Meetings that you don't necessarily have to physically go to, but hopefully still help just as well. Like I said, this is about it. You guys have a great day. My name is Dave. I'm an alcoholic, and we are out.